guess just obvious question, get it out of the way. Just the latest on your perspective. 1 year left on the deal and a potential extension with the Kings.
Yeah, I mean, working on it. Yeah, I mean, not much more I can say than that. I mean, I haven't heard too much in the last couple of days, so we'll see. Probably in the upcoming days, weeks, we'll get something going. But yeah, as of now, just nice to be back with the group, and yeah, looking forward to the start of the season.
A lot of guys maybe like to get really involved. Some guys like to just kind of stay back, let the agent do it. Where do you kind of fall on that? Are you letting your agent handle it and kind of just working with him?
Yeah, just kind of more working with him. I met with Kenny before and a couple of times and talked to him as well. But yeah, just like I've said this before, and I told my agent and Kenny too that I'm not in a huge rush. So I mean, whenever it happens, it's going to happen. So I've been telling them I want to focus on the hockey, and I don't want to sit on a call after every other day. So we'll take our time, hopefully get it done soon.
Obviously, there's a new GM now in charge. It's kind of this, still feels the same, but there's still a lot of new guys now coming in. What's the mindset coming in the game?
Yeah, it's pretty similar. I mean, I think obviously, with Kenny here, we had the meeting yesterday. He talked what he can bring and what he looks to change and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, other than that, I think it's pretty simple. We're going to stick with the system we've been playing. We're going to change some small details, but our identity is what it's been over the last many years. So we're going to stick with that. We've added some pieces. I got some more experience on the back end up front. So yeah, hopefully those guys can bring some of that experience they've had and all the success, and yeah, help us take a step in the right direction.
You played with Kopitar obviously in the past, and you guys have gone through changes on your lines. Now you have Kuzmenko, you finished with last year, and now you're coming into the season. How nice is it to have that continuity now going into the year?
Yeah, it was good. I think I was happy they re-signed Kuzi. I think he worked out really well with us in the last year and in the playoffs. So hopefully we can keep building on that to the start of the season. But yeah, like I said, it's exciting to be back. It's exciting to get some chemistry back here in camp and see where that takes us.
This is the first time that I can remember that the whole top 9, all 3 lines are fully back, from what you finished with last year to the start of this year. Do you feel like that can maybe help you guys kind of hit the ground running, get off to a fast start because you don't have to work through that?
Yeah, I think so. And, like I said, we know each other, and, took a couple of games to get to know Kuzi, but I think once we got rolling, we played really well. So I think it's going to be nice to, keep building on that. We'll watch some video, but I think over the next couple of weeks here, we'll find our chemistry back, and I think it's pretty important and pretty nice to have that right away. You don't have to think too much and get to know a new player and stuff like that. So yeah, that would be good.
They talked about the 5-forward power play unit again, and do you like your role when they go to that setup?
We haven't gotten to that point yet, so I'm not sure how it's going to look. But yeah, I mean, it worked out in the playoffs, worked out in the end of regular season, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, we haven't gotten to that part yet.
Eddie, when we were doing this interview last year, it was about coming to a new team, new situation, new systems, a lot of new for you. Being back, how does that maybe change camp, maybe make things a little bit easier?
Yeah, just I guess familiar faces. You're not guessing what the trainers' names are. You know who everyone is, and I mean it's such an easy locker room to come into. But even after a full year, it's just more and more comfortable. But you can tell for our new guys, they're already comfortable. Everyone's so friendly in here. We want to work hard for each other and be there for each other on and off the ice. So it's been fun so far, and yeah, it's nice to have some new faces in here.
How well did you know the new guys before they got here?
I'd say Cece and Dumoulin, didn't know them at all, but I played with Armia in Montreal, and same with Worm. So definitely familiar with them, which makes it easier. But I mean, with Dumoulin and Cece, definitely have friends in common, mutual friends. So yeah, feels like I've known them for years already.
Looked like you were out there with Cody a little bit on day one. Last year it was kind of about you with Brand as a younger guy. To go right in with a veteran, is that a little bit of a different approach, or is it kind of the same thing for you?
I mean, it doesn't really change, how I play out there. I think you're going to see it mixed up throughout the year anyways. So I think it's a good time to get used to different partners right now. So, I think Smitty said I'll be playing with Clarkie in some preseason games also. So just trying to mix things up and see how things flow.
You had a great season last year, tons of minutes, tons of games. How are you feeling going into this season?
Feel good. Hopefully we can run it back and go on a deeper playoff run. But no, body feels good. Looking around the room, everyone's in good shape. Everyone did good in fitness testing, and just excited for this season.
How nice is it to see one of those guys being Drew, who you never really got to see Drew at 100% with his injury last year. It feels like he's there right now.
For sure. No, he definitely, he bought in this offseason. He put in the work. You could tell by his numbers in the gym, and just seeing him on the ice, he looks, a lot faster than he did last year. And, he's the first one to admit that. So, a healthy Dewey is a hell of a player. So it's definitely nice to see him feeling good.
Is it too early to have spoken to the coaching staff or the management about role, partners, expectations on the upcoming season?
Yeah, I think that's just something that we'll talk about over the next couple of weeks for sure.
You knew Armia and obviously Perry from Montreal. What are the Kings getting in those two guys? Seemed like two guys who maybe play a style that helps in Game 83 as much as maybe Game 1.
Yeah, I mean, it's, to add two righties, it's something we've been looking for, especially last year. They both have good size. They're both veterans. They've been in the league for 10-plus league years, and Worm's got a Stanley Cup and been to several finals, and Army's been to the finals also. So just that leadership and the way they can control the puck down low in the offensive zone. They go hard to the net, and they got those silky mitts on them also. So they're going to be key players for our team. They're also guys that can play on the fourth line or up on the first line. They're kind of Swiss Army knives. So it's nice to have a couple of those guys on your team.
I saw Armia wiring some shots past the goalies in practice out there. Is he a more potent offensive threat than maybe his reputation suggests?
I think so. Yeah, you'll see it throughout some games where he'll take over games, and he's got that ability for sure. But he's so responsible defensively also. He's a guy we use on the PK and just reliable 200 feet. So he's a good player for sure.
How disappointed were you to hear that John Kelly will be calling your games again this year?
That's great news. I missed him. For sure.
It's the first time in your time here that you kind of started again with the same lines that you ended last year. Right? How exciting is that for the group of forwards in the top 9 to maybe get things going?
Yeah, I feel like I started knowing I was with Kopi and Juice prior, but I was obviously playing wing, and we didn't have the full, like to say, top 9. But there's a lot of good players here that can still crack those positions as well. But it's the feeling I had with Laugh and Kev out there. Just getting back into it, it feels like we had that chemistry. We had a lot of chances out there. We just couldn't score, but that's what we're working towards, and it just felt good just being with the same guys you ended with.
And it's not just the continuity, though. I mean, down the stretch, you alluded to this a little bit. Like, up to the trade deadline, I think you guys were 27th in goals after you were first. So what's it going to take to kind of even that out and identify, like, okay, where can we find consistent elements and really kind of maximize this, I guess?
Yeah. I mean, just in our opening meetings with, Ken, obviously, and, Jimmy talking, that's something they alluded to as well, just being more consistent. And, just throughout my time here too, that's something that I got to be better with too. So this year we're going to try to build the post deadline success that we had, and hopefully a lot better in playoffs. But just bring that into this regular season and start going again soon.
Always a talk at the start of camp about like what's different with the group this year. Is there anything that you could highlight as like, hey, here's what we're doing differently this season? Yeah,
I think something they talked about as well is just being older. We went through it yesterday. There's a lot of guys with a lot of Stanley Cup experience, either won or been to the finals. So, we got a lot of veteran presence, and that's something that we can bring here, and that will help us throughout the whole regular season and going into the playoffs too.
With the cap going up, I think a lot of teams had the goals to add and that sort of thing. But the market was also thin. I mean, do you feel good about the group that's come in here instead of going for maybe a core guy, filling out around the edges and kind of the depth parts of the team?
Yeah, obviously we lost a couple good guys, a couple good players and teammates, but we brought in some really good guys and really good teammates as well. So I think they did a good job there, and we're going to it takes time to the season starts in like 2-3 weeks, so we got a lot of time to build that all together, and just the guys that we have in the room, as I said, just a lot of veteran guys. Everybody just gels well, so very excited about this team, like everybody else here, and I think there's a lot of young guys here as well that are ready to take the next step, and that'll just help us, internal growth as well. So we got a lot going on here, and we're very excited for this team.
You talk about the experience and being older. Like, do you feel like a veteran now that you've been through it a few times? It's not your first rodeo anymore.
I feel more comfortable for sure. I'm still young. I'm still 23, so I feel more comfortable. I'll say that. I think there's a lot of vets here that obviously, that I still look up to and help me with my, my game and hopefully in the leadership role, in the future. So I just look up to those guys. But I'm definitely more comfortable coming in here, being with my line mates and all my teammates here.
We've seen you step forward up front. Obviously, big expectations for Brant this year, especially with Spenny leaving and Gabby leaving, guys that played the right side for you last year. What have you seen out of him kind of in his early workouts, and what are you anticipating as his role expands this year, I guess?
Yeah, he's looked really good, honestly. We've been chirping him about calling him Bobby Orr and Cal McCarr. So other than that, all jokes aside, he's looked really good. Looks like he's filled out a bit too, and I'm happy for him and I want to see him succeed. It'll help our whole team. So he's looked really good, and we're excited to see what he does this year.
Obviously, last year, health-wise, not at 100%, as we talked about a number of times. Where do you kind of feel day one in camp? Do you feel like you're there?
Yeah, I feel much better. Really focused on getting that ankle better this summer. Did a lot of things to make sure that happened, and I'm moving way better out there, way better, feel better, and just more confident in being able to use it, and that's a big thing. So I'm super happy with how it felt out there, and that was one of my better first days of camp in a little while.
What was the summer like for you, whether it was on the procedure process or on the rehab process, just to get back to where you wanted?
Yeah, I took a hard 8 weeks after I got my second procedure on it, just to get it right. Did everything I could, ate perfectly healthy, didn't drink, wasn't golfing, just totally focusing on my ankle and getting it better. And those 8 weeks, at times I got lonely because I wasn't going out with the guys and I wasn't golfing, which are some of my favorite things to do. But it was well worth it. I feel way better. It's starting to feel more like myself from a couple years ago.
I saw an interview you did at the Hockey Canada camp where you said that you kind of have a point to prove coming into this year, looking to make that team. Like, how motivated are you in that front to just come out and be Drew Doughty?
Yeah, I was disappointed. Last year was one of my lowest moments at the end of playoffs. Was one of my lowest moments as a hockey player in my life. So this summer I just worked my bag off, and I want to get back to the player I was, and I'm actually very confident that I will be that player again. I feel so much better on the ice, and I'll be back.
When you look at maybe Gabby's not here anymore, or you lose Spenny, is that hey, I'm the leader of this group, and whether they're here or not,
I was always the leader of this group. I mean, that's never going to change, but losing Gabby, obviously a great player, but we got two really, really good veteran players, Stanley Cup winners, which we didn't have before. So, and now we have three pairs that are just solid and are going to play lots of hockey, and we don't have to overplay the top two pairs. I really like our defense core. You kind of got a puck mover on every unit, and then you got guys that can both puck move and play good defense. So the D-core looks really sharp.
Look at the playoffs. You guys only played 4 at times. You feel like now you have the chance to get all 3 pairs out there
that's exactly I think what their thought process was coming in or over the summer was having 3 pairs you can trust and 3 pairs you can play. And, maybe they could have trusted that third pair a little more last year, but now there's no doubt that they can't trust this pair. So we solidified that.
What do you think when they signed Corey Perry?
I was pumped. Known Paris for a long time. Yeah, lots of battles and rivalries against him, but man, that guy's a gamer. He's one of those special players that you hate to play against and you want on your team. He's going to do anything for the team. He's a team guy first. Big game player. We need big game players. He's just everything you could want in an NHL player. And won cups, been in lots of finals, been around. Going to be able to help the young guys. I mean, there's not enough good things I can say about Paris.
Mike, it's only been one day on the ice, but every year there's something that's different about the group than the year before. Could you pinpoint one thing you feel is just a little bit different about the group coming into the season?
I mean, for me, I feel like just looking around, I just feel more, I don't want to say if comfortable is the right word, but there's more guys that bringing in so much more experience. So guys kind of know how camp goes. Obviously, they changed the format a little bit from years past with, how big groups are and whatnot, so it's a little change for everyone, but I think guys are everyone's been here, so everyone's kind of just been eager to get it going, so it's nice to get some more, real game reps, but I think it's just everyone feels comfortable coming into camp, everyone's excited, there's a good energy, but it's exciting.
Felt like last year everything was new. It was like new coach, first camp for Jimmy, new systems, new players, new everything. A couple new guys this year, but it feels like consistency-wise way better than maybe it was last year.
Yeah, I think a big thing too is coming in for us knowing, what drills they like to run, so we can help younger guys kind of figure it out on the fly. But like you said, they've been through it as a staff now for a year, so they have an idea of how they want it to go. We kind of know what they expect from us, which helps us. But no, I think everyone, again, like I said, I don't want to say comfortable because I don't know if that's a great word for it, but everyone's, comfortable with what's happening and what we're trying to do, which, should help get the best out of everyone.
Speaking of comfortable, I mean, you see Drew look like Drew out there by his own, admission. How nice is that after what was such a tough year for him last year?
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough one for him, battling back. And then, again, all summer he's trying to get everything feeling good, but then get his body back up to speed for maybe where he was at coming into last year. So he's done a lot of work, so it's good for him to be feeling good. He looks good. And then just now it's trying to get back together as a pair, keep building. Nice getting some little game reps, even though it's not full go, but no, it's nice to see him back out there, have him, full speed, practices and everything. Last year it's hard when he's not out there because he brings such a good energy.
It's only day one, but to Zach's point earlier about some things being the same as last year, top 9 forwards, same as presumably as it ended the season with. You got Edmundson back, Clark, you, Drew Doughty. Does that help going into camp to have that kind of familiarity?
Yeah, I think it's big for the dynamic. I think of the back end, maybe guys' tendencies, maybe when they change how they play, what they do throughout a game. So it kind of takes some of the question out of how things maybe go. Obviously, we got Dumo and Cease coming in, but they're easy going, so I don't think it's going to be any issues. It'll be fun to have them kind of see what they're like on a daily basis. And then, again, up front, those guys have got some chemistry, so they're all familiar with how they want to play. So I guess it's kind of the same for everyone, kind of just getting back up to speed and get back to playing the way each guy wants to play, but as a line and then as a group.
Those two guys coming in, it felt like sometimes in the playoffs last year it was only the 4 of you guys who really were going, and it was a lot. To add those 2 guys in, they've been there, they've been into the finals, or they've gone there. How big is that to add 2 guys like that?
Huge. It's experience is hard to get without going through it. Obviously, we've had some tough goes the last couple of years, so it's nice to bring in those guys. You bring in Army, pairs, guys that have played in big games, won big games. And you come to crunch time, there's no panic with what they got. I'm sure they'll bring some good leadership, energy to the group and be able to kind of calm things down if things maybe go off the rails a little bit. But more experience is probably better for a team that wants to win. It's guys that have been there and can do it again.
You start with an update on Booth. Anything?
I don't have anything. Yeah, I've been racing around like crazy all day today, and that was one thing I didn't get back to. I had to do a meeting and then get back on the ice for the practice. I haven't seen anybody yet on him, but it didn't look good. I saw him leave the ice. Didn't like that, but I have no update right now.
How tough was it to get the news about Corey Perry last week? I'm sure you're planning on kind of having him in, and then that's just so unfortunate with what happened.
Yeah, exactly. He'll be back. So let's, terrible news, but could have been worse, all that kind of stuff. And, he's on his way back, which is great. But it's funny how it works. I was sitting up there and saying, man, Pears is moving really well. They were doing their captain skates and scrimmaging. He just looked like he was moving so well, and then kind of out of nowhere you get this news. And I would have loved to have him in that practice this morning, that first practice. Those guys did a lot of skating. That would have been a really good kind of introduction to what we do, and he missed it. But we'll get him back up to speed. We know what he can do. There's not here to prove anything to anybody that way. But yeah, it's just disappointing for all involved. Nobody more than him. He's chomping at the bit.
Is the silver lining there though about how, you have some young guys that are trying to make it, whether you're talking about Hellenius, Turcotte, Thomas, trying to get ice time. Is that maybe a silver lining?
Yeah, no, I just don't see it that way. I never thought, of course that is the natural progression of what happens. There's more opportunity for other guys. But we'll get there'll be plenty of looks for everybody, with whether Corey was here or not. But no, I haven't looked at it that way. I'm just really disappointed he wasn't able to be out there for that one today. That practice in particular, I think, would have been a good introduction into what we try and do.
It's just day one, but it looks like some familiarity with how the season ended last year. Would you prefer to keep lines and pairs as close as they were at the end of last year, or are you looking for new combos?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think the forward lines, those three lines ran together pretty well, so I think that's pretty easy. We're not going to overthink that one. The D, Dumo's new, so Eddie has played with Clarkey a fair amount. Smitty moved those D guys all over the place. We want to get Dumo a little bit of time with Clarkey. That doesn't mean that they're going to play together all year, but it's just, learn how Clarkey plays, learn how Dumo plays. Dumo's going to play with CC, later on as we go. So we're just kind of sorting that out. And as you know, with Smitty, he's got kind of guys going all over the place. So it's just a matter of time. But I wouldn't look too deep into that.
Does that mean Dumoulin might start the season though with Clark?
Oh, it could. Yeah, we don't know. That's all I'm saying. Is we don't know. I wouldn't read. I mean, the forward lines, those guys played together pretty consistently last year. I would say, man, it looks like those could be the three lines that start together. Those 9 forwards. All things go the way we want. The D pairs, I would say those will be kind of a work in progress through the training camp and the preseason. We'll probably get more firmed up towards the end.
It's the first time we've talked to you since you got a new boss. What's the difference working with Kenny as opposed to Rob?
I mean, I don't know. I see a lot of similarities outside of differences. I think, really allow the coaches to make their own decisions. Just you guys do your thing, we'll do our thing, and with that, really good communication as far as just making sure that we see things the same way, or if we see them differently, that we're talking that out. So I don't see a lot of differences. I see a lot more similarities.
When Kenny came in, he said he wanted to improve his team around the margins.
Yeah.
He really believed in the team. Let's talk about tweaking the style of play. Will the team be any substantially different with respect to style of play?
You're talking about tweaking the style of play?
He did.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that. Did he say that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So go ahead, finish the question.
Will the team look any different style of play-wise?
Last season? I don't know. I mean, I said this before when I took over. Will it be really perceptible night after night? I don't know. I don't know if you'll say, man, I see a real big difference here. Are we going to try and do a couple things a little bit different on the margins, to use Kenny's word, style of play-wise? Yeah, there's a couple things, but I just don't know that you're going to say, that I really like, oh, they didn't do that last year, and that is so clear that they're doing that this year. You know what I mean? It'll be pretty subtle, is what I would tell you. I mean, you might, and if you do, ask me the question, and I'll probably answer it. If we get to the point where you're like, I've seen this enough times, is this something that we're trying to do? You know what I mean?
There's a lot of continuity, obviously up front, maybe besides the fourth line, but on the back end, Luke Gabkoff, Luke Spence, and now Ed Dumoulin and CC coming.
Right.
What do you kind of envision those two players bringing to the team this year?
Well, the thing about those two is they've got a pretty extensive track record, so you know who they are. They both, earlier in their career, they probably played in the 1, 2, 3 hole at different spots where they were, and probably have settled more into the 4, 5 hole in this stage of their career at different times. Played back and forth there, whatever you want to call it. Sometimes when you talk about a 4 defenseman or a 5 defenseman, those are almost interchangeable sometimes. They're hard to discern. Sometimes they're in this pair, but they actually get less minutes, or they take on a different role. They don't play on the power play, but this guy plays on the penalty kill. So that's a spot really like the 4 or 5 defenseman. It's hard to draw a line between those guys sometimes. I know everybody wants to say top 4. Anyways, to get back to the point, so those guys have been back and forth in that role. We're just going to see where it sorts out. You know what I mean? Clark, he's bigger, stronger, all those kinds of things. We have high expectations for him. We know those guys can do the job. We'll just see. What I would tell you is I think what you'll probably see, all things being equal, is a more equally balanced distribution of ice time on the back end in particular. Where they all play and when and why, we'll sort it out.
Second half of last year, you had Drew, but you didn't have 100% of Drew by his own, admission.
Right.
Feels like you do right now. How big of a boost is that to have your top guy as your top guy?
Yeah, well, there's two things on that point. Drew's just had a great summer. I'm sure you guys have asked him. Nobody really knows the extent of what he went through last year. You guys got to see him play, and he said, he doesn't look like he's quite 100% and all that kind of. It was pretty special that he was able to jump in and play and contribute as well as he did last year. If you knew, and we can't talk about everything that he had to go through. He took this summer, and I'm sure he'll tell you, he dedicated himself probably more than he ever has in his entire life this summer, and he's got tremendous results, both in the mobility, strength, conditioning, everything. So, all credit to Drew. But I just have to mention our training staff, our medical staff, who, take it back to when he got hurt last September, have done an incredible job to get him back to this point, to get him back in the lineup again, and now to spend this time with him this summer and get him moving and making sure that he was focused. Of course, our strength and conditioning team too. It's just been you love to see it. You love to see it because he went through a lot, and he's back. All right?
Coach, you talk about spreading those minutes out more evenly, maybe on the defensive side of things. Now with the addition of the players that you made over the summer, probably looking to use four lines more. Would it be safe to say that the minutes would probably be distributed a little bit more offensively on the offensive guys as well? Yeah.
All things being equal, healthy, and all that kind of stuff, I would say, and with that, nobody wants to give up ice time. Right? Everybody loves the ice time. Nobody wants to give it up. So that's just going to be part of our team. Everybody has to give up a little sometimes for the greater good. And the way things look, for sure, I would say that's probably a fair statement too.
And with the addition of the players that came in, whether it be size, experience, do you feel that you create a better environment for the younger players like Turcotte, Clarkey, and those guys to be able to maybe take that next step?
It's a little bit different, I would say, Evie. Last year they probably had more opportunity, right? Because there wasn't a lot. I think they got probably more opportunity to grow last year. They grew, they had that. So this year they're probably going to have more opportunity with more veteran players, with more polished players. If that makes sense. Does that make sense to you guys, what I'm trying to say, without trying to, you know what I'm saying? So they'll have, the opportunity becomes different. They took the opportunity to show that they can play. Now they're going to take the opportunity to show let's see how they can fit in with some more experienced players.
More so back to where
Maybe it's a better way to say it.
Not to say there was a clearing of the air, but Akil was saying that he met with you and with Ken and sort of said, look, I flushed last year.
Yep.
And can you just maybe tell us a little bit about that conversation and the mental approach
Right.
coming into this year?
Right. No, I'm not going to say anything about the conversation other than we had the conversation. We had the same conversation last year coming into camp that we had again. So we just kind of kept it consistent, Akil and I. I won't get into the details of it, but I would tell you that, he probably wasn't satisfied with his season last year and wants it to be better this year. And I feel the same way.
Going into camp this year, before Perry was hurt, you had 12 forwards, 6 defensemen, 2 goalies that if you looked at the roster, you'd say, yeah, those guys are on the roster. It's only day one, but do you have a 21 to 23 man list that in your mind should make the team?
I think this year would be different than last year that way. I think when you look at it, we all look at it and go, well, it looks like these guys are going to be on the team. Whereas last year, I think it was maybe a little bit more wide open that way. But I do think there's opportunity to say, okay, well, these guys are going to be here. These guys, let's wait and see. Doesn't look like too many spots, But who can pass who for that 1 or 2 spots? Maybe that's a way to look at it, I think, for those guys this year. It's not, there's 3 spots, which 4 or 5 guys are going to grab them. It's pretty tight there. Who can get up there and grab that?
By your own admission, you have a reputation for being unconventional as a coach. With Perry out, would that open the door to starting the season with an 11 forward, 7 defenseman rotation or something like that?
We could. I don't think we'll see that as much this year. You never know. I just think with the forward depth, with the young players another year older, with the depth that came in, I don't know. I don't think and that was extremely successful for us, but I don't think we'll see that as much this year. And on that point, that means probably a little bit less for not just, the top 7 forwards, who played last year. They all got quite a bit more, not just the top guys. In fact, the top guys didn't get that much more. What that did was bring 8, 9, 7, 6 forward ended up getting more. The top guys kind of played about what they would play anyways.
On Grant, you just mentioned some expectations for him. Ken kind of mentioned the same thing over the summer. What's kind of been the mindset or the communications between you and him? He shared that you had been sharing some clips with him that maybe you said there's a read here you could have made, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatnot. So, just broad expectations for him coming into this season.
I thought he had, I don't know if we talked about him again. I thought he had a great season last year. I don't know what the expectations were from everybody else. I thought he had a great season. It's what he did when Dewey went out and stepped in and played those minutes as a first-year player in the National League. So hard to do. Look around the league, you don't find that much. So I thought he had a tremendous year. Now, it's the next year. So can you take another step? That's all we're looking for. Take another step and see what that looks like. He's like, and I've said this about Q, you don't know where he's going to get to. And our job is to help him get there as fast as he can without, making him stumble. And so there's a fine balance in that. But we see him with tremendous potential and a king for a long time.
The last time we were all together as a group talking, everything was still fresh. The playoff loss, the changes in leadership, et cetera. When and how throughout the summer did you get over the playoff loss and what happened? And how?
Yeah. There must have been a point somewhere. I don't remember it. And I talked to our players at the end. That was tough last year, and it's still difficult. And I think that's actually a good thing. I think maybe if you didn't feel like you were right there and ready, it's sometimes, it sucks, but you get through it and away you go. I know I think there's plenty of players feel, I talked to the other coaches, that one just really stung. I talked about we had some great highs last season, tremendous highs. We had a tough week, a really tough hockey week. And it went away, I guess, a little bit, but it's probably still there. And so I think it's a good thing. I think we got a little bit of a chip because of it.
In Ken Holland's media availability so far, he has made it sound as if he believes in a defense-first philosophy. Internally, does the organizational philosophy stay the same as it has over the last few years? Defense-first play the same way?
Yeah, well, I mean, if the new boss comes in and feels the same way as the foundation that was set, for many years before, I'm not going to be the guy to change it. No, I think it's a great point. You look at Ken and Ken's experience. First of all, just go all the way back to Detroit and then go to Edmonton. You look at some of the offensive players on those teams over the years, he's had some of the best offensive players in the game. And in the end, he comes back to, you have to play defense, and then you got to go find your goals, whoever they are up front. That's an interesting observation from a guy who's had tremendous offensive players and won a lot as well, Stanley Cups. So, I don't think anybody's going to change that. It's hard to get your team to play good, committed defense, and it starts there, and then you want to layer on top of it. There's no question. Add some different depth. Maybe change things a little bit, but the foundation has to be compete defensively.
That being said, though, after the trade deadline, you guys led the NHL in goals. So does it go to show that, we can do this without sacrificing what the foundation is? Is that a proof of concept?
Yeah, well, I would think so. I think in the end, we were 15th in the league in goals, 4, and our power play was really not great until the end of the season. So we feel like we can score enough. And I think in the past we might have, I don't know the exact numbers, but maybe in the back third of the league in goals for. So we felt we made a big step forward last year, but we still maintained our defensive conscience. So that's just the way it's got to be. Maintain that. We'd like to get in the top 10 in goals this year. I don't know if we will, but we don't want to slide in the goals against. We just don't make that trade-off.
How do you ensure that Adrian not being signed right now is not a distraction for him on the team?
Ask you guys not to ask me about it all the time. That might be the first one. That one may be the first one. That's not my decision. That would be the first one. No, it's going to be a topic. Listen, he's a terrific player. We all know that. I think we want him to be a king. You guys enjoy him. We do. He enjoys playing here. Business is business, and we all hope they work it out sooner rather than later. But if they don't, we just got to march on.
Last year, you guys talked about wanting to get more uncomfortable heading into the season. The phrase that was used in the offseason was killer instinct this year. Is that something that you put into a coaching plan? That can you coach killer instinct, or is that?
That's difficult to do. I'll just say 2 things on that point. I think the sting of last year and how the sense that I'm getting when talking to players and how they felt when I talked to them earlier in the summer and now coming back, that's still there. So that's part of that for me. That doesn't have to be recreated. That's there. And then when you add, players with different personalities, and I think, if we speak to Corey specifically, I think he's been well known to bring a little bit of that type of an attitude. And so I think inserting that into the group with a group that's still stung from last year, then hopefully that can now start to manifest itself and grow.
The Ontario Reign have a new head coach, Andrew Lord. Have you begun that collaborative relationship?
Yeah, what a great guy. First, and I guess Marco's not here to congratulate him. First time I've talked to Marco many times with something, but we're really proud of Marco. First off, that the entire Reign staff, what a job they've done over that time Marco was there and developing players, getting them ready to come play for us. I think a big part of why Marco got that job. And then Andrew Lord has joined them. We've talked in the summer. We're in all the meetings. They're sharing stuff. We're sharing stuff. And I'm sure he'll pick up where Marco left off. And fortunately for him, he's got Heider and Schulz there, the 2 assistant coaches, to help bridge the gap as he gets comfortable with the league.
When we talked to him earlier this summer, it sounded like he had the same hockey philosophy as the organization, toughness, defense, all of that. Is that the impression you've gotten?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't part of the interview process, but I'm sure some of those questions philosophically, they would go through that process, so I'm not surprised. No, we haven't talked about that so much, but I think the game's similar and all those things. It'll be a really good addition to our organization.
Who's your number 1 center?
I don't know. Hopefully somebody different on every given night. You know what I mean? Hopefully it's hard to define that. And, you look at Cope, we're pretty darn consistent forever, right? So, but I do think, I don't know the numbers. I don't have them in front of me. You guys maybe would. You say, from the trade deadline on, we were one of the top scoring teams in the league and maybe the top. I would bet that was pretty balanced through those 3 lines if I had to guess. I don't know exactly, but Morsey got hot again at the second half there. Fogues got his goals. So I don't know. I think that's part of the strength of our team.
Do you expect more from Moore and Deneau goal-wise? I mean, Phil didn't even get to double figures.
Yeah.
Late season, but
sure.
You're going to have to produce more than that for you guys.
I would think Phil was snake bitten last year. I would say Phil's chances probably were similar to the year before, and he just was snake bitten. And when you get snake bitten, sometimes you just never feel good again. So we wiped that slate clean for Phil. Of course, in the playoffs, he had a good playoffs. He was scoring again. So we're not worried about that part of it. But yeah, I would think that line together. And again, I didn't have them together for the whole season. When they were together and they got going again, you know, we saw what that line could do. So I would suspect that'll happen. Yeah.
We saw you watching rookie camp a little bit. Anybody stand out to you?
No, not so much. Not that I wasn't expecting. You know what I mean? Yeah, I wouldn't say. Pleasantly surprised with some guys that I didn't know much about. I won't name names at this point. Let's see how they go through this camp, and we'll see. But another guy had a really good day today that I thought that nobody's talking much about. But no, we expected Greentree to be Greentree. We expected Woolley, you know, to come back, and Bristovich, to me, looks like he's going to be a solid player. But I don't think those are real surprises.
Just to double back on Dennis's question and your answer, down the stretch, once you got Kuzmenko, there were some nights where Kopitar's line played the most minutes. There were some nights where Byfield's line played the most minutes. I think Byfield and Fiala outscored Kopitar and Kempe in the last 30 games or whatever it was, but Kuzmenko obviously showed out. Does it matter who the top line is?
No,
The top six playing now?
no, that's what I mean, and Phil's line too. I hope on different nights, that feels like the top line. Not everybody's going to be like this on every game. It's when they're like this. And I just think we have a chance to have three lines that can just leap up to that, whatever that spot looks and sounds like for a night or two or three, because you can't maintain it. It just doesn't. It's too hard. And the other point on that is, you know, Q went to that first power play, so they got a lot of points there. So I don't know how the even strength scoring went, but with that group and them and scoring pretty well when Q went there as well, that probably drove some of the extra points.
How do you grow as a coach this season?
This season?
Yeah.
I
mean, you're talking about players being better. What's a coach need to do better?
Oh, I think it's like all of us. You take your profession seriously. You look at where you're at, how you can get better, who you need to talk to, what you need to watch, what you need to focus energy and time on, and try and be better. But whether it's a player, it's a coach, it's a journalist, it's a teacher, I think that kind of fits the same bill for everybody. I won't get into the specific areas I went to, but you know, I've got some people that I really always have good conversations, sometimes about business, other guys about hockey, and just try to listen and see if you can't make it better. And we talk about things, you know what, they're subtle, they're on the margins, but I think we can do that better. Let's talk about this as a coaching staff. Somebody mentioned this. Work your way through it. I think that'll make us better. It might be small, imperceptible on most nights. So that's the job. I think that's our job, is to try to stack the margins, give them everything they need to try and then let them go and do their thing. In the end, they got to go do their thing.
Is there more pressure on you, though, this year than there was a year ago?
I don't think so. Me personally, we always feel pressure. I don't think there's more, no. I think last year you would say, oh, you've never had a full training camp, and you know what I mean? This year, I don't know, whatever you say this year, I'll let you guys say it.
105 points.
Yeah, that's a
loss. Does that add pressure?
I don't think so. I mean, we are always under pressure. You know the job. We're always under pressure. I don't think there's added. No. You like to have 105 points. It's a good team. You know what I mean? If you had 79 and you're trying to climb up, you know what I mean? Then you're trying to get 85 or 96. So we'll take the 105, we'll take the pressure, and we'll try to do it again.